Welcome to the CompTIA Project Plus prepcast by baremetalcyber.com. Risk response planning is the stage in risk management where identified risks are transformed from theoretical scenarios into concrete action plans. At this point, the project team has already identified, categorized, and assessed the risks, meaning they have an understanding of which ones are most critical and how they might affect the project's scope, schedule, cost, and quality. The goal now is to decide exactly how to deal with each of them. This step is not about vague intentions. It's about defining realistic, cost-effective, and achievable actions that will either prevent the risk from occurring, reduce its impact, transfer its consequences elsewhere, or in the case of positive risks, actively capture the benefits. Because no two projects have the same combination of risks, response planning must be customized, documented, and integrated into the project plan so it becomes part of the team's operational rhythm rather than an afterthought. For negative risks, those that represent threats rather than opportunities, there are 4 common categories of response: avoidance, mitigation, transfer, and acceptance. Avoidance aims to remove the threat entirely. Mitigation focuses on reducing the probability or the impact to an acceptable level. Transfer shifts the consequences to another party, often through contractual or insurance arrangements. Acceptance acknowledges the risk without direct preventive action, sometimes backed by contingency reserves or fallback strategies. The choice among these depends on the severity of the risk, the project's tolerance for exposure, and the available resources. No matter which option is chosen, the response must be clearly documented in the risk register and monitored throughout the project to confirm that it remains effective. Avoidance is often the most decisive risk strategy, but it usually requires significant changes to the project plan. By altering scope, changing technical requirements, adjusting processes, or even eliminating certain deliverables, the team can remove the source of the threat. This is typically reserved for high-impact risks, with consequences that the organization is unwilling to face. While avoidance can effectively eliminate exposure, it often comes at the cost of added time, expense, or lost functionality. For example, choosing a different technology platform to avoid integration issues might require more upfront development but prevent major failures later. The trade-off must be weighed carefully, but when the consequences are severe enough, avoidance can be the most prudent path. Mitigation is more common because many risks cannot be entirely eliminated. The focus here is on proactive actions that either lower the likelihood of the risk occurring or reduce the damage it will cause if it does. This could mean increasing quality control checkpoints, providing additional training for key team members, redesigning a process to remove a single point of failure, or adding redundancy to critical systems. Mitigation is ideal for risks that are both foreseeable and manageable. It requires early planning and sometimes additional investment, but its strength lies in making risks more predictable and less disruptive. Transferring risk means shifting the financial or operational burden to another party. This does not mean the risk disappears. Rather, its primary consequences, especially cost-related ones, are absorbed by someone else. Examples include using fixed-price contracts with vendors, purchasing warranties for critical equipment, or taking out insurance policies to cover certain liabilities. Transfer is often used for risks involving specialized work that is best handled by external providers, or for risks where the project lacks the expertise or capacity to manage the consequences internally. Even when the risk is transferred, the project team still monitors its status to ensure the agreed-upon third party fulfills their responsibilities. Acceptance is a conscious choice to live with a risk rather than spend resources trying to prevent or reduce it. This strategy is often selected for low-impact risks or those with such low probability that investing in mitigation is not justified. Acceptance can be passive, where the risk is simply tracked in the register and revisited during periodic reviews, or active, where contingency reserves or predefined action plans are in place to respond if the risk materializes. Active acceptance is particularly useful for risks that are unlikely but potentially disruptive enough to warrant some preparation. Contingency plans are an important complement to these strategies, especially for high-priority risks. A contingency plan specifies the exact steps the team will take if a risk event occurs, including who will execute the actions, what resources are needed, and how those resources will be obtained. For example, a contingency plan for supplier failure might include a pre-approved alternate supplier and an expedited procurement process. These plans are not meant to be theoretical. They must be actionable, tested where possible, and integrated into the project schedule and budget so that activation does not cause further disruption. In some cases, even a well-designed mitigation effort may fail to prevent the impact of a risk. This is where fallback plans come in. A fallback plan is a secondary response activated when the primary response proves insufficient. For example, if a mitigation plan to prevent network outages fails, the fallback plan might be to reroute operations through an off-site data center until the issue is resolved. Fallback plans are particularly valuable for risks that directly affect critical path activities or customer-facing deliverables, where downtime or disruption is unacceptable. Prioritizing risk responses is critical because resources are finite. High-impact, high-probability risks demand detailed strategies and careful monitoring, while medium-level risks may receive lighter-touch responses or simply be tracked. Low-level risks are often accepted outright, perhaps with minimal oversight, to ensure they do not escalate. This prioritization ensures that the project's risk management effort is proportionate to the threat each risk poses and aligned with the organization's risk tolerance. Assigning responsibility for each risk response is another non-negotiable step. The risk owner, often the same person identified during risk identification, must have the authority and capability to implement the chosen strategy. This includes monitoring the conditions that might trigger the response, coordinating with team members, and initiating actions without unnecessary delays. The name of the owner, along with the details of the response, is recorded in the risk register to maintain accountability. Clear ownership ensures that when a risk event occurs, there is no uncertainty about who is responsible for acting. Once a risk response strategy has been chosen and assigned an owner, the focus shifts from planning to execution and continuous oversight. A planned response is only effective if it is implemented correctly, monitored closely, and adapted as conditions change. This means treating the risk response plan as a living component of the project, not a static document filed away after the initial planning phase. Each response should have measurable indicators that can be tracked, such as key performance indicators, milestone completion rates, or early warning signs. These indicators help confirm that the response is reducing the risk's probability or impact as intended. Monitoring the effectiveness of a response is essential because even the best strategies can fail under real-world conditions. A mitigation plan may not lower probability as much as expected, or a transfer arrangement might not fully shield the project from financial exposure. Regular risk reviews allow the project manager and risk owners to compare planned outcomes with actual results. If the response is underperforming, the team must escalate the matter, quickly activating fallback plans, engaging additional resources, or revisiting the original analysis to identify missed variables. These adjustments are not signs of failure, they are signs of active, engaged risk management. Over the course of the project, risk conditions will evolve. A risk initially rated as high impact may diminish if certain milestones are reached or if related risks are resolved. Conversely, a risk considered minor at the outset may become more urgent due to changes in project scope, market conditions, or technical dependencies. This dynamic nature makes regular reassessment a core part of effective risk management. During these reviews, the team should validate whether the chosen response strategies remain appropriate, update probability and impact ratings, and modify the planned actions as needed. This keeps the risk management plan aligned with current realities rather than outdated assumptions. Risk response planning is not limited to negative risks. Positive risks, often referred to as opportunities, deserve equal attention because they can produce significant benefits if leveraged effectively. Just as threats can be avoided, mitigated, transferred, or accepted, opportunities have their own set of strategies: exploit, enhance, share, and accept. The goal in each case is to increase the likelihood and magnitude of the positive outcome. Exploiting an opportunity is the most aggressive strategy. It ensures the opportunity occurs by committing resources or adjusting the project scope to guarantee success. For example, if a new technology could reduce delivery time by 20%, the project might allocate additional staff or budget to adopt it immediately. This strategy is reserved for opportunities with high potential value and favorable conditions for execution. It is direct, proactive, and benefit-driven. Enhancing an opportunity is about making it more likely to occur or increasing its potential benefit. This could involve expanding partnerships, improving readiness, or accelerating preparatory work. For instance, if early market entry could capture a larger customer base, the team might fast-track certain development tasks or secure additional distribution channels to support the launch. Enhancement requires careful analysis to ensure the increased effort delivers proportional returns. Sharing opportunities means partnering with another party to maximize mutual benefit. This often occurs in vendor relationships, joint ventures, or collaborative product development. While the rewards are shared, so are the risks and responsibilities. This approach can be particularly effective when the opportunity is too large or complex for a single team to manage effectively, or when another organization has capabilities or resources that can accelerate success. Accepting an opportunity means acknowledging its existence without committing significant resources to pursue it. This can be a passive choice when the potential benefit is small or uncertain, or an active choice when the timing is not right but the opportunity may be viable later. In active acceptance, the project might establish conditions under which the opportunity will be pursued, similar to a contingency plan for threats but applied to beneficial scenarios. Choosing the appropriate response strategy for any risk, negative or positive, requires balancing probability, impact, cost, and alignment with project objectives. Cost-benefit analysis is a key tool here, as is soliciting stakeholder input to ensure the decision reflects both operational realities and strategic priorities. In complex situations, multiple strategies might be applied in sequence or combination. For example, a risk could be partially mitigated and partially transferred, or an opportunity could be enhanced internally while also shared with a partner. Once selected, the risk responses must be integrated directly into the project plan. This means updating scope statements, work breakdown structures, cost baselines, and schedules to reflect the planned actions. Tasks may need to be added, roles adjusted, and resource allocations modified. Integration ensures that risk responses are not just theoretical ideas, but operational elements with timelines, budgets, and clear accountability. Communication is the final and often most critical step in risk response planning. The entire project team, along with relevant stakeholders, must understand the nature of the risk or opportunity, the chosen strategy, and the conditions under which action will be taken. Briefings, training sessions, or targeted workshops can be used to ensure that everyone knows their role in executing the plan. For high-priority or complex risks, risk owners may lead awareness sessions so that team members can recognize trigger conditions and act quickly. When risk response planning is done well, it strengthens the project's resilience to uncertainty. Negative risks are either reduced to manageable levels or positioned so their consequences can be absorbed without major disruption. Positive risks are cultivated so they can deliver maximum value. In both cases, the project team moves from a reactive posture to a proactive one, ready not just to survive change, but to leverage it. This mindset is essential for maintaining control over project outcomes in environments where uncertainty is the norm rather than the exception. Thank you for listening. Please follow baremetalcyber.com on social media and check out our books at cyberauthor.me.